What's up, folks? Casual Dad here, and I've talked just about the Warhammer Combat Cards 5th anniversary quite a bit, but I hadn't really taken time to kind of sit down and talk about everything all at once, because there was so much going on, so much to keep up with over 2 full weeks, more on that in a second, that it was really hard to just kind of keep everything together and even keep track of everything that was going on, let alone talk about it in any kind of coherent way, let alone put all of it together. So as of today, we're sitting at 1 full week, I believe, since the end of the anniversary campaign. Time is funny. I don't know if it's actually been a week. We'll see. But just to kind of recap, again, it was the five-year anniversary of the Warhammer Combat Cards mobile game. Very cool event. Very exciting for a lot of people. And this is the promo of all the things that came out with that campaign. So it was a full week of campaigns. I think actually 2 weeks. What is that? More than... Yeah, that's a week. So it's 1 week of created campaigns, but there were some technical difficulties that we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute that did kind of delay some things, kept people from playing for a significant chunk of the first week, so the events were moved to the following week, so we had a 2-week anniversary, which is actually kind of cool because of the stuff on the bottom there. The card giveaways, those were extended a bit, so I think the free packs actually came up multiple times, and then the key offers of all Lords of War and all Supreme Commanders being added to the general card pool ended up being 2 weeks instead of just 1. More on that later as well. And the promise that we were going to get the giveaways of these new cards up to level 5. I actually, Sevastus Cranon right there, Cranon the Relentless, mine is level 7. I don't know if I got extra drops or if I spent more wild cards than I thought, but I am very excited to have a level 7 legendary that was released last week, and I do. Moving up, the 5x reward bonus. So Skull Packs gave you tons more rewards. We got the brand new wild cards feature, which is really funny how familiar it feels already, even though it's less than a month old. And then we have the curated campaigns, where it was curated by the community, curated by Play on Tabletop, curated by Shinto Bean, curated by me, Casual Dad Games, and then Horde Mode, curated by Harry, the lead game designer himself. This was pretty fun, and it did kind of work out where this was all flipped. So Shinto Bean's Deathstorm was actually the first one that was run. Mine was the second, then it went to Assault and Black Reach, and then finally Play on Tabletop's Dark Vengeance. But it was pretty cool. I enjoyed all of the campaigns personally. I learned a lot from my own curated campaign. Playing against it, as well as actually getting some of the feedback on it. And I actually got some stats I want to share with you in this too. Cruising right along, we have a bunch of stuff to cover. I'm going to cover a lot. I'm going to especially cover some of the developer blogs. I have a photo slideshow at the end. Don't worry about that. We'll see if you can stick with me that long. So, next up. So we did, again, have technical glitches, right? Where for a full day, I think maybe 2 days, the entire event was actually unplayable, where the game went down because of some structural coding issues. The good news on that was, again, that the events were extended for another full week, which was great. Today, I took a screenshot of this at the time. It definitely didn't happen today. But the team's communication was excellent. They were very aware of it. They responded quickly. They gave extra goodies, extended the event, and kind of did the best that they could with what must have been a heartbreaking glitch. And I know a lot of the community, including myself, was really excited for this event, and to have it delayed was sad. To have it kind of broken up was sad. It was so beautifully planned out. But of course, there's that saying, no plan survives contact with the enemy being technical issues. And there was some information, though, that it was I'll let the developer blog speak to that. But anyway, so it ended up being shuffled, ended up extended a week. But the point I wanted to highlight here was the communication. The company was aware of it very quickly. They reached out on Discord, Facebook, Reddit. They were all, I think Facebook, I'm not sure actually. They were very actively communicating and letting people know that that was happening, communicating out the rewards, and they did a very good job with that, the best you possibly can do in a situation like that. So that definitely was worth shouting out. Reflecting on the past 5 days, and this is one of several very heartfelt developer blogs that came out over the event that barely anyone had time to really focus on because there was so much going on. I think at one point there were 3 campaigns going on simultaneously. It was just a lot of grinding in these games in those last few days. Everything sort of butted up against itself, which was somewhat challenging. But that's why I wanted to take a minute to step back and come back to this stuff to make sure it did get the time it deserved, even a little bit later. So on the line of communication, this came out August 9th. This was kind of the later middle of the week. I believe this is the end of the first week that was intended to be the first full week of the event. But hello everyone, well, we're thrilled to announce that the anniversary event has officially begun. It's worth starting by openly, not a typo, that was all my bad. Starting by openly reflecting on the past 5 days. It's been more than disappointing to kick off the celebration with the disruptions we've faced. As a team, it's been incredibly frustrating. It's tough to see our hard work stumble at a moment when we should be celebrating, but what's even harder is knowing that we've let you down during a time that should have been filled with excitement and positivity. Your dedication and feedback are what have brought us to this 5-year milestone, and it's deeply upsetting to have delivered anything less than the experience you deserve, which, yeah, that had to be a real bummer. However, there's also been a silver lining. First and foremost, we want to thank you, not just for the past 5 years, but especially for the past 5 days. Your support, activity, and messages across all our channels have kept the celebration alive despite the challenges. Very nice. Well done, everyone. During our efforts to resolve the main issue that caused the downtime, we also discovered a long-standing problem that had been affecting game stability. We're confident we'll resolve this, and once we do, the game will perform better than ever before, which is really good. So there's a big silver lining. I have yet to see that fully realized. But yeah, it's cool to find big bugs that can be fixed. It's cool. Moving forward, the game should be more stable and enjoyable, which is something worth celebrating in itself. Woo! That said, we still have a full anniversary to enjoy. Hopefully many of you are already seeing the updated calendar, and you can see this is flipped. Shinto Bean's campaign being first, my campaign being second, Horde mode, and then the other two later. And then the rewards flipped around too, so that Kranon was actually the last of the special rewards. And this, see, the dates have moved, so the starting day, instead of being the 5th, is the 9th. So it started 4 days later, 4 days into the event. So shuffled, but it's cool. We'll kick things off with Shinto Bean's Deathstorm campaign, follow the original schedule through the Indominus Horde. After that, we'll return to the planned initial lineup featuring the community event you created, and conclude with Play on Tabletop's Dark Vengeance campaign. Starting today and for the next 5 days, all victory packs will contain 5x the usual content, so be sure to jump into battle and earn those packs. As a token of our appreciation, we're adding both Lords of War and Supreme Commanders to the general pool for the entire duration of the new schedule, effectively doubling the window to obtain these exclusive cards from packs. That's even more reason to open those victory packs. In fact, victory packs. To cap off the celebrations, we'll also be giving away another large pack of wild cards for free, allowing you to upgrade your favorite cards as a highlight of the anniversary, which is so awesome. Thank you all for your support over the past 5 years, especially over the last 5 days. We'll get into that. It's truly been an honor, and we're excited to see what's next for all of us. Let's enjoy the next 10 days of celebration together. We'll see you on the battlefield. Next. This was funny. So there was a moment, because of the shuffling of all the campaigns at the very end, where there were multiple campaigns going at the same time. There were multiple free bonus cards you would get by scoring in the various campaigns. And so when you were looking at your collection to build a deck, almost all of it was highlighted as something that would give you bonus copies of the card, which is not the case. So I took a shot of this, because to get the new Ultramarines card for that campaign, you would only receive the bonus from Lords of War and Ultramarines, not the other ones that were highlighted. That got me, and I ended up getting all the copies, but I had to do a bit of a scramble at the end. Oh, yeah. And one of the really cool things about this was the community engagement, where they reached out to players, just the community of players, and said, hey, y'all submit ideas for decks for the Assault on Black Reach campaign, which is one of the first box sets that I ever saw right before I got really into the actual physical tabletop game, around, I think, 5th edition? The numbers all blur. It's crazy that we're on 10th now. What do we need? We're looking to create 20 unique decks for the campaign and need your creative input. Background story. In this event, we're representing Warhammer 40k 5th edition. Yeah, 5th, look at that. Assault on Black Reach. Participants will battle as orcs against the Space Marines and servants of the Emperor. The event will require 400 deck points to utilize the Apocalypse and even playing field modifiers, max level. Number 1, choose your faction. Space Marines are servants of the Emperor. Number 2, deck points should range between 350 and 540, so first round and then final round, increasing in increments of 10. 350, 360, 370. So you could do anything between these two. Yeah. Rule of 3, like in tabletop, don't use the same card in a deck more than 3 times. Be creative. There are no other restrictions. Feel free to mix and match Servants of the Emperor, Space Marines, blah, 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 blah. You can create mono Space Marine, mono Servants of the Emperor, or mixed decks. I saw quite a few mixed decks. Submit your deck. Provide a list or a screenshot of the deck, and don't forget to include your in-game username. We'll select 20 decks that fit the theme. Please be aware that some decks may get adjustments to maintain campaign balance. Votes. Even if you don't want to create a deck, you can still participate by voting for the decks you like. Why is voting important? Your votes help us prioritize and visualize the decks our community is most interested in, ensuring the best decks are chosen for this campaign. The creators of the 20 selected decks... Blah, blah, blah. Oh, Nice. The creators of the 20 selected decks will receive a small bundle of legendary and epic cards. Nice. I would love to hear what's in that if anyone wants to speak to it who got their deck picked. In addition, the selected decks will be featured in an upcoming campaign. Woo! Your names will be credited. Geez, rough night. We'll notify you when they go live. Join the fun. Head over to our dedicated Discord thread for this event, share your decks, vote, and join the excitement. Deadline is July 21st. And I wanted to throw in here that this is basically the exact same restrictions that I was given when I built the decks for the campaign. So if you want to see what your limitations are, what your guidelines are, that's basically it. I did not follow the rule of 3. I don't believe I ever duplicated a card in the deck even once, let alone 3 times. It could have been fun to do that in a thematic way, but I should have thought of that, especially when I was trying to do the Belisarius Call full-on Mechanicus deck. When I was picking out cards that I didn't want to be too powerful, I could have duplicated a couple to make it to fill it out a little bit more easily and make it a little bit less. Give it slightly softer teeth. I did have some stats on my campaign. I really enjoyed my campaign. I actually enjoyed playing Shinto Bean's campaign more because you play as Tyranids, and I love Tyranids. Heck yeah, Tyranids. Watching you, Tyranid lover. I don't know if you watch these, but if you do, love to have you. For those that don't know, Tyranid Lover is a very popular character in the... a very popular personality, I should say, in the Warhammer Combat Cards Discord, who pops in all the time with heck yeah Tyranids, and even has a meme, and I believe an emoji about him that are popped in there. Don't even know. Yeah, good times. So I really enjoyed Shinto Bean's campaign, beat that very quickly. For my campaign, I actually played through it using no Lords of War and no Supreme Commanders, very intentionally to see if that was possible. And I recorded that whole thing, and there's a video of that on my channel as well if you want to see it. For the other campaigns, I didn't pull any punches. I used Supreme Commanders, and I used Lords of War. And for that community-curated campaign, that was super hard. Yeah, those were brutal. I had several strikes despite using decks that were just like head over heels more powerful than anything that I'd run in the other campaigns. That was tough, and I'm really quite sad I didn't even finish the Assault and Black Reach campaign. I just didn't have the time to do all of it at the time. For those specific nights, I couldn't pull it off, which is sad. But I really enjoyed Shinto Bean's campaign. I really enjoyed the experience and the challenge of beating my own. I really do think the theme came out well, and I was very proud of it. But my personal favorite of all of the campaigns was the Play on Tabletop campaign. They stuck to theme similar to what I did, but they made really fun decks, and it was just a great all-around experience. And similar to what I did as well, they had a couple spoilers in there. There was one deck that was all of the Greater Demons, I think, that was not particularly hard to beat compared to the other stuff. It was just kind of a cool experience to see that on the board. So I liked it. I did get some stats on my specific deck. So this was pretty fun. So this is based on players who played my campaign. Almost a third of players who played my campaign completed the entire thing with 0 strikes, which blew my mind. Another full third got 3 strikes and stopped, which isn't terribly surprising. You don't want to waste your plasma on a campaign if it's too tough, you hit a wall. I get it. The remaining 42.9 either finished but with 1 or more strikes or stopped without striking out, which I hope the majority finished with 1 or more strikes, because that number shuffles a lot based on who completed it. But we're looking at roughly 3/5? No, that math is just wrong. Anyway, a good number of players beat it, which I'm very excited about. I'm glad people completed the campaign. Hopefully they had a good time. Yeah, hopefully it wasn't too brutal. And I love some numbers. I think I did the math. Yes, okay, so yeah, so that does make it almost 60%. Almost 2/3 of all players did complete the entire campaign with 3 or fewer strikes, which is cool. Yeah. Now to push a bit more, some number of strikes, unknown number of strikes, above 0. Push a bit more, I was wondering if there were numbers for... I wanted to know which deck was the real sticking point. For me personally, that Howling Griffin's Tolmeron deck was brutal. I think I got 3 strikes on that. It might have been 4 on that campaign, on that level alone, and that was an early one. That wasn't supposed to be a hard one. Yeah, nasty. Turns out Imperial Fists are really scary with Tolmeron's rule. But yeah, and then, so that was interesting. So I expected that to be a challenging one. I had also heard a little bit about the all Lords of War, where I did Creed with just nothing but heavy knights, which I was really excited about. That's one of the few decks I actually did test in PvP and found it not particularly hard to beat. I just got wrecked. But when I faced it, it was much harder, and I felt kind of bad about that. But level 2 Creed, the second Creed was, I think, the 5th round. But so this right here, 41% of all losses were on that level 2 Creed with all the super heavies, which I am really sorry about. That one in particular was supposed to be especially fun. I'm sorry it was such a sticking point. Level 18 Artemis was nearly the end, so that one should be a hard one, and that was almost half of all, 45% losses. So almost half of players that got that. I think I'm reading this as like almost half of games in that stage were losses. So that was a really challenging one. I was actually quite surprised that Guilliman was that challenging, because that one I built straight up on theme, but it was a ton of deck points and a lot of Ultramarines. So yeah, there we go. So that was a very challenging final match, which also makes it even more impressive that the almost 60% of players got all the way through. So that's cool. And I really hope you all enjoyed it. If you have feedback, even if it's negative, I would love to hear it. But yeah, Tolmaron you struggled with is only 21% losses, which still is pretty high. 1/5 of all games against it were losses, even if somebody did use Supreme Commanders or Super Heavies. Oh, this is one of the points that I really, really wanted to highlight that just was completely glossed over. There was no announcement about this. I barely saw a pop-up about this. There was very little said about this. And I was like, this is so heartwarming. One of the great things about this whole event was how much the developers' personalities came out in public in ways they hadn't before. Like, I personally bug Harry all the time, the Mad Emperor, and I see his live stream, so he's kind of the public face. But the other folks on the team, you never see. So this was cool. They actually put up a blog, and I'll link it in my video, where they did an interview with 3 of the top people there. We've got the live ops guy, Greg. Let's see, we've got Benji, who's the artist. Love you, buddy. Especially the artistic design of the Supreme Commanders, the way their graphic design meshes with the like clouds and auras around their traits. Oh, nails it. Love it. So Benji, shout out to you. And yeah, so I'm actually going to read this, so brace yourself. And when I first read this, I read it in what I think of as UK accents, but I'm not going to inflict that on you, although I was tempted to. Yeah, creative game designer, Harry. Creative game designer, yes, of course. Got to shout out Harry. From our first battle to today, it's been an epic journey. They share memorable moments, discuss challenges, and give a sneak peek into the future. And it's not super long, but I'm going to read the whole thing. So, what inspired the creation of Warhammer Combat Cards, and how has that vision changed in the past 5 years? From Harry himself. It all started with the original cards printed by Games Workshop. I even had a full set of the second printing. The appeal then, and what we've tried to stay true to, is that army in your pocket feel, letting people play with factions or models they never would normally, all while using the amazing heavy metal miniatures to bring it all to life. So you have that painted model feel kind of reflected in the game, and that's always been one of my favorite things about the mobile game. And the visuals are so much better than the models were back in the day, and then the paint jobs were back in the heavy metal days. We'll see that in a second. And then Benji here, the artist. Beginning as the brainchild of a few passionate individuals working into the wee hours, alongside other budding projects at the time, Combat Cards flourished when we cemented our partnership with Games Workshop. Oh, that's cool. I'd love to hear that backstory someday, because I bet that's a very cool story that no one's heard. The idea was to create a portable version of Warhammer 40k that you could play anywhere, with any faction or models you so choose. Since then, we've increased the card roster to over 1,000 cards, spanning all factions, and are representing bigger vehicles, creatures, and characters from the extended roster of Warhammer 40k. The extended roster of Warhammer 40k Forge World catalog. We also aim to make all characters as closely represented to their tabletop counterparts as possible, with an ever-increasing roster of traits and abilities that are fully upgradable, and I love that. The faction identity is very strong, the individual warlord identity is particularly strong, and the combination of traits and sort of overall abilities of each faction and sub-faction I really enjoy. That's one of my favorite things about the game. Greg, the mantra has always been to own the impossible army. In recent years, we've started adding larger miniatures such as Lords of War, Supreme Commanders, and Forge World models. We've also leaned into encouraging epic games on an apocalypse scale. In my opinion, the vision remains true. Very nice. A note on the Forge World models. The Forge World model I see the most often is Tyberos, the Red Wake, the Terminator with the double lightning claws and the skulls on his belt. The Space Sharks, the Karkarodon's chapter master. I've been playing him a lot this week, and he is still, I think, Forge World. Doesn't have an official model inside GW's models, but they talk about the bigger Forge World models. The little ones are the ones that really jump out to me. Anyway, how do you balance staying true to the Warhammer lore while making a fun and engaging game, Harry? It's actually quite easy. Is it, sir? Warhammer is and has always been a miniatures game with rules and abilities, and the lore has just sprung up around it, sure. Taking ready inspiration from the tabletop has always been an easy conversion into our game. With the lore being so expansive and detailed, it actually provides more avenues and flexibility when it comes to designing cards and features, and allows us to go beyond what the tabletop can provide while staying true to the central intellectual property. I like that. That's good. Benji, we face the same issues as the tabletop, balancing lore with fair and interactive gameplay. Yeah, if you've ever read a Space Marines book and then gone straight to a tabletop game where a Space Marine dies in the first round, you're like, oh. It's funny. For example, if we followed the lore too closely, Custodians and the Titanic cards in particular would outclass most other factions. This doesn't provide a fair and equitable experience, especially for fans of balanced card games. Balancing Warhammer 40k lore and gameplay and combat cards requires a deep understanding and respect for the source material, something our team is highly knowledgeable of as active players ourselves. We engage with the community for feedback, continuously iterate and refine our game to provide an enjoyable experience for both card game fans and new/older patrons of Warhammer 40k. Greg, honestly, it practically writes itself. We base our content on public knowledge and established lore, ensuring everything aligns with the spirit of the Warhammer 40k universe. The cards are inspired by the tabletop rules, and our campaigns and events draw from the rich Warhammer 40k lore. We've even started mimicking popular bundles like Combat Patrols and Battle Force box sets. Yeah. I'm really pleased that our game captures the feel of playing a tabletop game in miniatures rather than in minutes rather than hours, I really enjoy creating thematic decks similar to how detachments are encouraged in the codexes. I love that. I would love to see more of that pushed, design team, just saying. I had a note on this. You guys, there's many references to being active players. I would love to see a photo dump of just you guys and or the armies that you play and you're painting things you're especially proud of. That would be great to see, because the personality that came out in this article from all three of you guys is more than we've seen for a while, and this is one of the things that gave me warm and fuzzy feelings throughout the entire anniversary campaign, thinking about this article, and this article was a core piece of why I wanted to do a big recap instead of just continuing with kind of the short little mini videos. Yeah, just saying. Good job, guys. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during the development and growth of the game? Harry, I think our biggest challenge overall has always been the size of our team. Yeah, we're all passionate Warhammer fans in the studio, and we've all wanted to add more and expand further at every opportunity. We feel the same passion as our players for both the game and the setting, and having to sit back and temper what we want to achieve is always challenging, especially when we're keen to get it in front of players as soon as possible. You just know these guys are sitting on a pile of Supreme Commanders they can't release until those codexes come out. Yeah, which must be so obnoxious to be like actively playing this thing that is going to be added to the campaign, but even these guys don't know that schedule in too much detail, I think. Benji, we must rely on new and innovative ways to promote our product by engaging with our community and maintaining synergy with Warhammer's product line to ensure an exciting lineup for future cards, packs, and cosmetics. We also have a relatively small core team, so the number of new features we work on must be cherry-picked in terms of importance and enhancement to the core gameplay experience. Greg, keeping up with Games Workshop's release schedule is challenging, but it's also a blessing because there's always something exciting happening. Sure. It's been great to have a plan and cadence in place, and when Games Workshop releases a new book or campaign, we know to create a relevant Battle Pass, Combat Patrol, Battle Force box, new cards, Supreme Commander, and potentially a new campaign. This consistency helps users know what to expect, which we hope they find beneficial and engaging. And one thing for me, I do keep track of the Warhammer 40k release schedule fairly closely, but especially in the last year or two, I spend more time playing combat cards than I do playing Warhammer, which is a little sad. But also, I play the game in part to keep up with the release schedule of Games Workshop. So if I see something in combat cards come out, I know that that thing has also come out in some form or another from Games Workshop, which is kind of cool. Looking back, oh man, I gotta speed up. What are some of the most memorable moments or milestones in the game's history? Do you have any fun stories or highlights from behind the scenes? Harry, I think one of my biggest highlights was bringing in secondary traits. Oh yeah, it's funny to remember that wasn't a thing before. There had always been I want to give this character more, and yes, the double traits gives you it doubles the vocabulary that you can define that character's character in game with. Very important. Really hugely important for the thematic characters now. Or feeling like one trait didn't do that card enough justice when capturing its identity. It also gave an exponential amount of new combinations and differentiators, and means even today we can be releasing cards that are totally unique. Love it. Behind the scenes, there was a huge amount of debate between all of us. Well, actually mainly Tom and I, who's not in the interview article, by the way, around which combinations made the most sense. And that really sums up the joy of working on the project, where two mega fans can debate the finer points of lore and gameplay, to justify how a card takes shape. That's got to be a lot of fun. I would also love to hear, this would be, if you do more of this like personality behind the team bit, if you have the time to do it, it'd be really cool to actually see one of those conversations plotted out in details. Pick a card, all the opinions and conversations that went into making it. It would be very cool to see that kind of, written out. Benji, when the Leagues of Votann were announced, there were many meetings called, resources pooled, and an effective battle plan was drawn to add the 9th faction to combat cards in a matter of weeks. And then no codex was released for years. Never have we pulled together such a major feature so quickly and so cleanly. This involved sourcing art for all the new cards and creating them, changing every instance of UI to include a 9th faction, and all the coding behind the scenes to pull it all together. It was surely a miracle we put it together as quickly as we did, and also one of the most bug-free parts of the entire game, as I recall. Yeah, very impressive. Very impressive. Greg, sometimes while watching Casual Dad, Shinto Bean, or other live streams, man, I gotta polish up my act, I noticed bugs in the game. I love being able to jump in on my PC and fix them right away to improve the experience for everyone. I've seen that happen once or twice. I'm like, this thing was broken, and then it just gets fixed. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I've even made updates to the shop, from my mobile while heading to Portsmouth FC to play football on a Saturday. I don't think that's I think you mean soccer, but us colonials have simplified English over here. It's all part of the passion I have for ensuring our game is the best it can be. It's always nice to get a shout out. I was pretty shocked to get that level of shout out in this article, but still that's very nice. How has the player community influenced the development and direction of the game? Harry, as a former member of the community, I can say a huge amount. The game is now designed by a former community member. The team's willingness to listen to the community has given me a chance to join the team, and I've always tried to carry that forward into my own work. I always keep an eye on the Discord for where balance changes are needed or what gaps new cards can fill, and even some key features have been influenced by the discussion and musings of the community. Cool. Benji, the community's replete with, good word, with examples of suggestions and contributions they've made to improve our overall gaming experience. Examples of this would include, but are not limited to, extending the upgrading tree, implementing horde mode, skip the card reward sequence button, speed modifier button. Oh my, whoever first suggested that, love you. Community chosen modifiers and cards to be created. I don't know that I've seen much of that actually. Speeding up player progression, very nice. Raising issues via Discord that allows us to tackle various issues, bugs, and niche cases to further polish the game. Nice. Greg, the community has significantly influenced the development and direction of the game. Thanks to their feedback, we've implemented numerous features and improvements, such as new gameplay modes, enhanced customization options, and streamlined progression systems. Community input has also shaped the introduction of popular new cards and gameplay modifiers. Overall player engagement and suggestions have been instrumental in making the game more enjoyable and aligned with what players want. I think that this question highlights the personality between the three interviewees more than any of the others. I really love it. But they all do cover kind of the same things, talking about how important the community is. They are obviously outnumbered by the community, which is a space that is kind of nice to be in because you have so many vocal advocates for the game talking, and hopefully is a really positive thing beyond what they're saying here. Are there any standout community events or interactions that have particularly stuck with you over the years? Harry, maybe because it was my first big event, but the first time we did exploration campaigns was for Skulls 2021. I remember that one. That was a good event. We introduced the boss warlords in Gilliman and Scarbrand. Oh, man. And in 400-point games for the first time, as well as fully curated decks. The buzz and excitement was amazing and was my first experience of seeing something completely handcrafted, going out and being met with the excitement and positivity, which was amazing. Benji, the greatest event I personally enjoyed has been the Warhammer Fest 2023. It's one of the first times I've engaged with our player base directly, nice, and got to speak at length about Warhammer Combat Cards and Warhammer 40k in general, nice. I've been to many before, but not as part of a company that represents the brand, and with attendees so enthusiastic about that same brand, and it was a genuine pleasure to talk to so many at the event. Now, I believe he's saying that was an in-person event, which is very cool. Greg, you too. Attending Warhammer Fest 2023 was both fun and rewarding, especially meeting so many passionate players in person. One of the highlights was finally adding the Night Lords to the game, which was quite recent. A promise I made to someone. That's cool. I hope they see this and remember our conversation. Hopefully you who asked for Night Lords in person of Greg at Warhammer Fest 2023 remember that promise made and are happy that it was done. If you have uninstalled the game, reinstall it right now. It was great to turn that promise into reality and to connect directly with the community. That makes everything worthwhile. Can you give us a sneak peek into any upcoming features or updates that players can look forward to? Harry, there's a lot coming through at the moment, and a lot of it long requested. Ooh. Players will soon find they have the ability to handpick which cards to level, wild cards, and I think that's going to open up a huge amount of player agency, yes, as well as the chance for new and exciting metas. I want to share it all, but the best place to get the hottest news out the press will be to join me in the live streams, which are now back to a more regular cadence, true, which is fantastic. Benji, we are... We'll get to that. We are hard at work developing a new feature that's aimed solely at giving our players a significant boost in customizing and upgrading specific cards in their collection, wildcards. No spoilers for now, but this will be one of our grandest features yet, and one that has long been anticipated by our community. I love it. Wildcards is a great feature. Very, very excited to see cards level up, especially because anytime I unlocked a new card, it was basically sat on the shelf indefinitely while I waited for cards to level it. And wildcards will allow me to pick and choose which ones I do level up, and be able to bring those key ones into the game so much faster. Yes, I am super down and very, very behind wildcards. Love it. I think it was rolled out really well, too. I, of course, would love to see higher drop rate, but you know what? Can't have it all. As Combat Cards approaches its 5-year anniversary, we're curious, what does reaching this milestone mean to you and the team? And Harry, look how short this was. Come on, man. You had longer answers than everything else. Harry, personally, I think it's incredible. To have a mobile game in this day and age reach 5 years of continual running is rare and to be celebrated. I think it's a testament to both the team and community, and really shows that we've made something special and have got an amazing player base to be incredibly grateful for. Okay, fine. You can nail it in the short speech, I guess. Well done. Benji, Warhammer Combat Cards is one of the core reasons why I joined Well Played Games. As an active competitive card player myself, a longtime fan of Warhammer, and having worked on a myriad of other card games in the past, it was a no-brainer to make the switch. I feel my familiarity with the Warhammer 40k universe has improved our output of accurately represented cosmetics. Ideas for campaigns and future features. Ideas for, and future features. There's the word. Personally, I'm nearing my 5th year working on combat cards, and it gives me great joy and satisfaction working on an IP I grew up with, as well as providing narrative and artistic steer along the way. In this industry, you never know where you'll truly land, so I count myself incredibly fortunate to be working on a Warhammer 40k game, with a very cool, close-knit team, obviously, as well. Greg, I like to think of my job as a way to bring joy, entertainment, and variety to others. Reaching this milestone, which is a significant achievement that many don't reach, reassures me that we are on the right path. It reflects not only the hard work we put into it, but also the strength of our supportive and engaging community. Knowing that we've made a positive impact and that our efforts resonate with players is incredibly fulfilling and motivates us to keep striving for excellence. Lovely. Are there any special events or features planned to celebrate the 5-year anniversary with the community? This, of course, came out before the live stream announcing the schedule and everything, so... Harry, oh boy, there is! Hand on heart, it's going to be the most generous we've been in an event, true. It's huge, and I'm so excited to be here for it, and know it's going to be a great event for players at every level. Benji, as much as I'd like to, I'm refraining from spoiling any of our upcoming events. However, I can state they will be some of our very best and most generous yet. Greg, no spoilers, not redacted this time, but I can say it's been the most generous celebration I've been a part of since the launch. Oh, that's nice. Is there a message you'd like to share with the players who have supported the game over the years? I don't think I have the volume for this thank you, but we'll see. Harry, just to say to all of you, thank you. From those of you who started by supporting my fan reviews of new cards, I would love to dig those up and read those, actually. I should find those. And my rating system on the in-game forum. To those cheering me on when I got the role as a developer, on to all of you who have joined in the live streams over the years, chatting and laughing in Discord and being turned into memes, it's been amazing and genuinely changed my life. After 5 years of amazing support, I can't wait to give back in what is sure to be an amazing anniversary week. And I will continue to keep close to you all and continue to make this game of ours the best it can be. Sorry, Harry, I tripped over that one a lot. Benji, I would like to take a moment to thank our steadfast community and supporters of Warhammer Combat Cards. While we have the vision and tools to provide you with the experience, our in-game community has supported us to where we can continue to innovate and refine the experience further for all to enjoy. Thank you to our wonderful players and collaborators who have helped us define a whole new horizon of Warhammer Combat Cards, and we endeavor to do so for many years to come, as long as there are passionate individuals to both work on and play our game. Greg, just like your tabletop or personal miniatures collection, your collection will grow over time into something you can truly be proud of. We're committed to making the experience enjoyable and rewarding, ensuring that every edition is both fun and meaningful. Whew, that scared me there. Whether you're shouting "Death to the False Emperor" or "Wah!" in celebration, we're here to make every moment exciting. Thank you for your continued support and enthusiasm. Definitely got a bit of a heretical bias there, but yeah, it's fine. This came out before the anniversary event actually launched and was sort of dumped in the middle of a giant pile of news, so it was really important to me to take a moment to spotlight this and give it the time it needed, even though obviously it came out before the anniversary, and I wonder what of this, if anything, would have been different after the event. But this is cool, and it was really nice to hear from all of these folks in their own words on these specific things around this anniversary, and I'm very surprised that it wasn't released with bigger fanfare. I don't know how many people even read this, but it was really cool, and I loved it. So anyway, next. This has gotten long enough. I'm going to go ahead and touch on this in a future video. The change to the campaign update, I have not gotten a chance to address this, and it came up quite a bit recently, but we'll come back to that. Ah, yes. And then the other follow-up to all this, there is currently, as of recording this, I'm not sure it's still up, a community survey up in the game if you want to give feedback on the event, if you want to go ahead and fill out some information yourself. If you haven't already, go ahead and take that survey. And then there was some news more recently, later this week, that a lot of the Supreme Commanders are actually being added to the general card pool permanently. So now any legendary drop could also be one of the core Supreme Commanders. Let's see, it was Guilliman, the Lion, Call, and the Silent King. And then these cards have now been added to the general pool as well, some of the super heavies. So the Bio-Titan, the Herald, or the Harridan, these are all bigger Forge World models right here. So I guess that's, yeah, Forge World. Of course, the Stompa, that one also. The Baneblade, one of the two, I guess these are alphabetical, we'll see. One of the two Wraith Knights, Brass Scorpion, which is one of the least 40k looking models in the range. It always throws me off a bit, but I really genuinely love it. That it's a giant scorpion. I really enjoy. The Tesseract Vault, the Storm Surge, we'll see more of those now. The Astraeus, which is one of those new things I'm still not very familiar with. The Monolith, the Lord of Skulls. Funny story, my brother picked up Warhammer Combat Cards and played it for, I think, 3 days. Specifically just before and just after my campaign. I don't know if he's still playing it. But he got a Lord of Skulls in his first day, which definitely helped get through those campaigns. So that was pretty great. And now he's in the general pool. Colossi, Ghostwalker, the big one, the Tau Supremacy Armor, the Thunderhawk. Yikes, I don't want to see that in, well, we'll see. The Morkanaut, I actually didn't realize that wasn't in the general pool because the yellow one is already in the general pool, but hey. Cunnin of Mork. Then we've got Slaughter Incarnate, also didn't realize that wasn't in the general pool. The Obelisk, the Stormlord, Guilliman, Silent King, Call, the Lion. Oh, God, these two. Ooh, man, these things. So these have all been added to the general card pool, so any drop could be any one of these now. So you should see them more often, and it's going to be really exciting for more players to get their hands on these, which is pretty cool. Also, from a design perspective, these are really important cards to kind of look at and see if they need to be adjusted or changed. And if no one has them to play them, it's very difficult to judge how they are balanced with the 5 players that do use them regularly. I'm sure it's more than that, but yeah, throwing out numbers. This was fun. And so we've covered kind of the substantive parts. One thing I really wanted to do was shout out every single one of the people that actually got a deck into the community campaign. The ones who submitted and were approved or upvoted by the community and ended up playing. I didn't get a chance to do that. What I wanted to do was actually stream that whole campaign. Instead, I took screenshots of the rounds that I played, but I didn't play all that many. So I wanted to get some of those pictures in here. Through the end of this video is just a slideshow. I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. This one was funny. I had a sneaking suspicion that this was actually Harry himself, the lead designer, when I played this match. This was a scary match. This was, I believe, the first round of the campaign was against the Lion. And for this, I didn't pull any punches. I had multiple super heavies, and I played Supreme Commander Gaz, which was very, very helpful in clearing some of these key campaigns and taking out key cards throughout. This was a fun one. I really enjoyed the design of the Lion. He's my favorite of the 2 Primarchs, just because his rule is both, it's hyper aggressive, but it's much more limited than Guilliman, but also it's just you build a deck around that trait, as opposed to with Guilliman, you build a deck around stats. Guilliman is probably the better of the 2, but I enjoy the Lion just for the challenge and all the green. This one, boy. Yeah, so Imperator was the guy that made this deck, and then Saint Celestine made this deck. And this one was the Lion, but with almost entirely Sisters of Battle. This one was really hard, because there were a lot of shields in there. Shields on high melee cards, plus, of course, Celestine herself, who had to be in there. In a Lion deck was real nasty, and this is where I was very glad I went with a ranged heavy Supreme Commander Gaz deck. So I did get through this, but I was sweating a bit. Then we got to Game Drama from the Unforgiven clan, who see often, who built this gnarly Ultramarine-focused Akaran deck. And then this thing, this is a board you don't want to see. So this is actually, I think, in reverse order, actually. So apologies for that. We're going backwards. But Game Drama, this is the end of this match. I really thought I was hosed in the early one because I saw this. Yeah, this. Seeing that across from me early game, I was like, oh no, this is gonna be brutal. But I got it. I got it here. No. Good job, Game Drama. That was a fun one. But a really powerful mixed deck in a Akaran deck is real scary. Yeah. And then we got Vulcan Dynasty. And this one was nasty. It was a solid reminder of how scary of a Warlord Creed actually is. Bob Dog here with Gilliman. Seeing Gilliman with the ball. God, this was such a nasty board to see. I think this was one of the first deploys, or an early deploy. I was like, oh yeah, I got this. This is fine. This is not fine. This is not fine. We got it. Limo got the very thematic. It's like a Dark Angels heavy. I mean, it was a very thematic Tolmaron deck. Most all of the community decks were built for like power, designed to be a very powerful deck and tough to beat, and you felt that. They were very challenging matches. There was not a lot of theme in the majority of them, except that Sisters one I shouted out from St. Celestine. I loved it. This one was very challenging, and I love this screenshot because you got that in action, the actual animation. Shout out to Benji there. The actual animation of Supreme Commander Gaz's ability of that sword-swinging orc arm chopping off hit points from a card on the other side. And that was Limo, yeah. Soma Didani. This one was very nasty. Really heavy Space Marines in a Yarick deck was an adventure. It was funny. So during all of this, while that campaign was going, there also was a PvP campaign going, which is where I talked about that bonus coming up. And this is the Mask deck that I built to play in PvP, because I love playing PvP to kind of test stuff out and play things. The Mask is one of the better PvP warlords to deal with the shield and fear spam you see in there a lot. And this deck, using almost entirely newer cards, except that Terminator guy on the end, was super good, and I almost had no losses with this. I was very proud of it. Almost had no losses. It's a very powerful deck, and chewed through several of the most powerful meta decks, which I was really excited about. And of course, all these new cards are awesome, and these were all free giveaways, except for the two in the middle. The one is rare, so a lot of folks probably have it. The other one's epic. We'll see. But we got the community giveaway for the Skulls event and 2 from the anniversary event in there, which felt very appropriate to have those in a PvP deck. This one, Emo's from HD. I don't know the clan. Emo, this one gave me a strike. I got my butt kicked, basically here, by the surprise miracles. There was one clutch miracle that saved a opposing card. I think it was actually right here. And then there was one other clutch miracle that actually got the lethal blow on Gaz. So that was a nasty deck, but then I did get it the following time fairly comfortably. But man, those miracles. Whew. And you can see they're sitting on a 60% charge there, so it was, yeah, it was very lucky to chew through that. But I think I had enough range damage here that even a miracle wouldn't have saved her. Oh man, and then we got Athel from the Unforgiven again. I didn't know there were that many, like the portrait and such, that Artemis, I hadn't ever really noticed, and I have to apologize to Benji now by name, because I know. I had never noticed the hero portrait for Artemis. It's very cool to have that Deathwatch hero portrait. I'd never really noticed it until just now. My bad. This was nasty. All these super heavies in regen with Artemis's ability for a lot of free damage. Oof, and it was full of Medicae too. Hey. And then that's going all the way basically as far as I went in that. And I was so bummed about, there may be more actually, we'll hold that thought. There was a kind of 5th anniversary sort of stats dump that also sort of dropped in social media channels and was not focused on very much, but this is funny. Players that reached Terra, 12,555 players have reached Terra, the top level of the ladder play, which is the fairly dedicated players. 1 million total kills, 1.3 million total kills, 242,000 total battles fought. These are some very impressive numbers to be proud of here. And then we've got most points in unranked. There's somebody who had, in ranked, 48,308 trophies, which is bonkers to have that much. That is some serious grinding right there. 2 million plasma spent, 4,000 years of total playtime between all the players in the world, which is a little bit unsettling. But then right here in the middle, most played card in the entire game is Shazbray Obolotai, whose name I've really never said, but I know he is the broadside battlesuit that comes up a lot. A really, really good card for pretty much all of the Tau Warlords. He is themed to be one of the 8, so he's a Farsight Enclave, so he's red, so he pairs well with Farsight. Very strong early level, and then still very efficient late level, so he's one of the cards that fits in basically everything. So I see why he's very common. Also ranged, also barrage, so no surprise. Max ranked win streak. Somebody won 120 games in a row, and I would love to know who that was, because that's pretty great. And then here's the updated. This is the original schedule. I don't know why that's in there again. My bad. And that. Oh, we're back to the beginning. Okay, that's my bad. Yeah. Ooh, meet the team. Yeah, so anyway, there's my recap. If you're still with me, thank you very much. I appreciate the support. Hopefully this was fun, and we'll get back to probably shorter form videos coming soon. Yeah, till next time.